Welcome back to another episode of Close to Broke. My name is Kieran. Today we're going to be playing a Johnny Vibes meetup game at the Hustler Casino. We're just finishing up our stint here at work, so sorry for the loud noise, really busy. I'm going to hop in the car, I'm going to get on the motorcycle, so no B-roll today like usual. I guess you guys enjoyed that from the last video. Just a huge thanks on the support on the last video. It was overwhelming, and yeah, the views are still climbing, so God bless you guys for that. If you guys didn't know, we actually have our wonderful meetup game July 16th, which is going to be this week on Friday when you guys are seeing this video. 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at the Larry Flynt property, Lucky Lady Casino here in Gardena, California. So I hope to see you guys there. It's going to be 1-3 with the $500 max, match the stack as well. So it's going to be super deep, fun poker. Be a great time. Other vloggers will be joining as well. So if you guys haven't checked already, we also have the WSOP package giveaway, the staking deal. If you guys have any questions regarding that, look down in the description below. There's a video that completely goes over the application process. It's super simple. It's absolutely free. And there's only like 12 contestants that have signed up so far. Anyways, let's get on to the Let's go on to the video, guys. So just want to kick things off by saying a huge thank you to the Johnny Vibes community, and especially Johnny himself. Welcomed the entire crew with open arms. He was very accommodating, as well was the Hustler Casino. Not somewhere I really regulate. Going down there and experiencing that was quite a really great experience for myself, and I'm sure everyone else that joined. As we slowly continue to build our little headquarters, our office here, I'm gonna keep adding little things to make the quality of the episodes even better. So if you guys haven't already, please do me the greatest of honors by clicking the like button, subscribing, and something I don't ask very often, but would really go a long way, is if you guys can turn on that notification bell. It will let you know whenever I post videos, and at this point I'm posting videos nearly twice a week. So unfortunately I arrive a little late to the meetup game. It's like 8 o'clock by the time I get here, something like that, I don't know, 6 or 7 o'clock. The meetup game actually started at 2, so we're a little late to the show, but we're here to have a great time, and we're not going to stop at this point. Very first time we put blind re-raise in, which is I guess a blind double straddle, to $12. We're playing 1-3, $800 max, and we are in for the maximum at this point. It gets around to the straddle who makes the limp. Small blind makes the limp, and so does the straddle. Unfortunately, I looked down at King Queen. This would be a perfect situation to isolate, but we don't have the option, and we're off to a flop. The flop comes Queen 7-4 Rainbow. The small blind decides to lead out for $20. It folds to me. I don't think there's anything to do besides just call at this point. We can spring a trap later on and figure out where exactly this gentleman is in the hand. Nonetheless, no one else makes a call, and we're on to a turn. The turn is a jack. The gentleman in the small blind decides to lead out yet again for $20, the exact same bet. For the most part, when people bet these really small sizing, repeating values, I tend to take it as weakness, especially at this stake level. And for the most part, that generally is the case. So when I go ahead and raise here to $40, just make it double his bet. I just want to string him along. Don't want him to fold anything that's a little inferior to my own hand. And not only that, but there's a ton of hands where he could just float and maybe turn into bluffs with on this river. He goes ahead and makes a call. The river pairs the bottom card, another 4. And when he checks to me, I want to size up actually a little bit here. We've definitely let him get to the river pretty cheap, and nothing really changes on this river besides maybe a suited 4, like ace 4. So with all that being understood, the hands that we are already losing to, like Queen Jack, still have his speed, but I don't think we can get too scared and miss value. So we go ahead and bet for value, $120, and he tanks for quite some time, and unfortunately makes a fold. Looks like we went a little bit too big here. If I stuck somewhere near that 50 to 60% pot, we would have done a little better. So got to be cautious of my bet sizing moving forward. Again, I just want to preface any of the hands that I play today. I'm going to be playing super aggressive. One, because I don't have a lot of time in the meetup game. There's only like an hour and a half, 2 hours left. So I'm definitely going to be pushing the action. These are stakes that I almost never play. So for the first time in a little while, I'm actually playing poker to actually have some fun. Definitely going to get the gamble out. Definitely going to get the fun out. And yeah, a lot of the people that we're playing with are fans of the vlog, huge supporters of the vlog. So if I'm gonna donate to anybody, this is the people I wanna give away money to, right? We're currently in the straddle here. There's 2 limps to the big blind who isolates for $25. Considering all the dead money and the fact that I'm a huge advocate of defending your blinds here, especially the straddle, I go ahead and make the call with Jack 6 of hearts. And no surprise here, 2 early position limpers decide to come along as well. The flop comes 10-9 deuce with 2 hearts. We flop a backdoor straight draw and a flush draw. The big blind decides to check, and I want to take initiative from here. I want to take initiative from him in the pot. I go ahead and bet $35. The cutoff decides to make the call and everyone else folds. The turn is the queen of spades. This is one of the cards that we want to be sizing up here pretty big. At least 70% plus of the pot, considering we add even more equity with our hand by adding an open-ender, and we still have that flush draw to go along with it. After a little bit of thinking, I decided to bet $135, and almost instantly the cutoff decides to make the call. The river comes an ace of diamonds. This is generally a card that should be favoring my range. As we've talked about before, and almost every other poker blogger jokes about it and mentions as well, board pairing rivers are terrible. So on a pretty great run out for my range, and what I'm probably showing, there's a ton of hands that make up my range in this spot. So I can easily have King Jack here. I'm even blocking that hand. We can definitely have sets in this situation, and obviously a ton of more really value heavy hands. So I want to polarize myself here. This is, I don't think I can come up with a hand that's inferior to this besides 8 high, maybe have an 8-6 of hearts. This is probably the nut low of my range, so I've got to go pretty big here and polarize myself. I go ahead and decide to jam $435 effective. Again, I don't know if this is just something I do constantly in the vlogs, but I misread his stack, and he had a little more than I anticipated. I thought I was jamming for around $350, $300, but it ended up being about $435 exactly. And he instantly snap calls, showing 10-9 offsuit. So even at the table, we were joking about it. It was a pretty quick call for a hand that by the river was not a great hand to have there, especially a snap call. I'm okay with the call. No, nothing wrong with that. Even going over pot, you have to call there sometimes. I'm in the straddle for this hand once again. Under the gun 1 decides to raise it to $25. It folds to me. I look down at pocket 6s in the straddle. Pretty great little spot here to just call and play for stacks. Hopefully we can hit a pretty beautiful set and make some money here. The flop comes queen 10-3 with 2 spades. He bets $25 once again. And here, considering I think he can still have hands like ace jack, ace king, and some other random ace highs, as well as king jack here, I think it's fine to just call and evaluate, maybe get to a river. I make the call. The turn is a pretty gin card, to be honest. It's the 6 of spades. So it does bring that front door flush draw in, but we do make a set in a pretty great little spot here. We decide to make the check. He almost instantly snap checks back. The river comes a jack, and now I'm a little worried. One of the very likely hands in his range being ace king now improved. So I definitely want to play the check and evaluate strategy. Pretty much call any bet sizing. I don't want to lead and get blown off my hand if he decides to make one of his missed hands into a bluff and I have to make a big fold here. Not that I'm capable of doing it, but I think I'm okay with checking and allowing him to bet. I go ahead and do that, and he instantly snap checks it back and shows pocket king. So we get very lucky by hitting a 6 there on the turn, but unfortunately are incapable of finding any way to get any more money out of this pot. So unlucky situation there. Wish we bet a little bit at least on the turn and found a lead there, but nonetheless, win a small pot. It's limped 4 ways by the time it gets to me in the big blind with jack 7 offsuit, and I think there's nothing to do besides just make the check back here. We are off to a flop, which comes jack 7-4 with all clubs, monotone board. Pretty interesting little flop for us. We flop top 2 on a very wet coordinated board. Straights out there, flushes out there, ton of draws out there. We go and check to the cutoff, who was a gentleman that we played that 10-9 hand against earlier. He decides to bet $3. Yes, $3 into the pot here. I decide to raise. I don't know if I really like this play very much. I don't know what we're getting called by besides a couple flush draws that maybe do this, but I don't hate it. I'm sure it's fine if we really kind of dissect it, but we decide to raise to 25 bucks here, and then he instantly raises to 53 bucks. So now it's a little scary getting 3 bets on a very coordinated, very juicy board texture is frustrating. I don't know what he's really 3-betting with the flop. The thing that I am considering is that I block both jacks and 7s flopping sets, but I don't block any of the flop flushes. So I think about it for a little bit of time, and again, just because it's such a small amount, I think I'm okay with getting lucky, trying to bank a 7 or a jack on the turn here to win a bigger pot. So I make the call. The turn comes another 4, so pairing the bottom card I go ahead and check to him once again. He decides to bet $25. So the sizing is really wacky here. He's betting a really small portion of the pot. And even if I'm show to hand, like I said, ace jack with the ace of clubs, or even flushes sometimes, considering the implied odds and we're the 2 deepest stacks of the table, it makes sense to call here and try to get lucky, being one of those big cards on the river. So I go ahead and make the call. The river is a pretty miraculous card. It's another 4, so it came running 4s. We now back our way into the weirdest full house we could get. After a little bit of thinking, I think this is time to lead out here, and we have to find something that may look like a bluff. And I'm thinking about what sizing to go with. I'm not really scared of this gentleman have anything better than queens plus a higher full house, is what I'm getting at. So I think the best thing I can do here is go for a really polar sizing. So I go ahead and decide to make a huge sizing, betting $400. We go with a pretty big sizing here, and he tanks for what feels like infinity and beyond. And unfortunately, he decides to make the fold, and he shows ace-8 of clubs, if I'm not mistaken, showing that he flopped the nut flush. We both played our hands in fairly weird manners, him choosing the really odd bet sizings on the flop and the turn, and me choosing to raise a flop that we don't have to raise every time. So, you know, nonetheless, happy to win a pot here, and happy to get a little bit of money back. The button opens to $15 in this next hand. I look down at ace-king offsuit in the small blind. We make it $50 out of position here. Gets back over to that button, and he makes the call. The flop is 10-9-3 rainbow. I do like c-betting these boards sometimes. I don't like them the other times, but at this point, this is a fairly decent thing in players, so I think I can barrel off sometimes to get some better hands to fold. And with some backdoor nut equity, I don't mind c-betting. I go ahead and down bet here to $45. He thinks about it for a second and makes a call. The turn comes a queen of clubs, so it brings a backdoor flush draw, as well as a very important backdoor straight draw that we were looking for to get the nuts. And I think at this point it's time to size up here, really put pressure on some middling pairs and some top pairs turn to second pairs. I go ahead and bet $135, and he thinks about it for quite some time and makes a call. The river's a 3 of diamonds, so a pretty terrible card. It's kind of like a card that I just can't find a third barrel on. I don't even know if I'll be going for 3 streets with aces or kings in this spot, and that's like really the case. And the point of this, if we're not able to find like authentic, genuine hands that you'd be 3-barreling with on these board textures, it's kind of hard to make shit up on the fly. Even though I love doing it, it just doesn't make too much sense. So we decide to check it, and he pretty quickly decides to check it back. He shows 10-8 offsuit for the flop top pair. A little bit of a loose call pre-flop, but in position, I'm okay with it, and considering how deep we were. So unfortunately, we lose another big pot there. We've just been finding a way to win small pots and find every way possible to lose the big pots. Alrighty, folks, we're getting over to the last hand of the night here. I do want to mention a couple things have happened to this point. I just didn't record a couple hands where I flopped top pair. I play a pretty small pot that gets a little big on the river, where somebody gets a set of jacks on the river to suck out on us there. We had ace queen against jacks in that hand where we raise, he 3-bet, we just called. So unfortunate situation there, but that's where we lose a little more money in that pot. But I just didn't record it, and I don't really want to break down hands that I don't have film for. So we're going to the last hand of the night. In this last hand, we looked down a king of spades and 9 of diamonds from the cutoff, and we raised it to $20. Only the big blind calls. The flop comes 9-9-3 with 2 clubs. He checks it over to me, and I definitely think a c-bet is in order. Like we discussed in a couple vlogs past, I think even when I flop huge hands on these super dry board textures, there's still a flush draw out there to consider and a ton of floats that make sense for my opponent's range. So I want to be betting pretty small here, or at least somewhere around half pot to be fair. So I go ahead and do just that. I bet $30, and he pretty quickly decides to make the call. The turn comes some brick, like a 4. And when he checks it to me, I think it's very important that we find another c-bet here. I bet $50. This is the part of the hand that I'm not too big of a fan of. I think considering how dry the board is on the flop, if he's calling, he has to have some part or at least a very decent draw. I think that it's important to really size up here. He's going to have a ton of ace-x of clubs, a ton of king-high flush draws. So I think it's really important to size up just a tad bit. I think we bet a little too small here on the turn. I think going somewhere around 75% pot is the absolute perfect way to play it. So just in hindsight, that's what I'm looking at. Anyways, he decides to make the call. The river comes an absolute blank, doesn't change anything. And when he checks to me, I think it's time that we size up here. Like I talked about in previous vlogs, and what I always say religiously, just in case this is an off chance where he has a pretty big hand that I'm pretty much nutted against almost every hand at this point. The only hand I'm really losing to are like, you know, boats and then like ace-9. So I don't want to miss out on an opportunity here. I bet pretty big. I bet $300 just in case he has a hand that's willing to call. And he pretty instantly folds, mentions to me that he had a flush draw that missed out. So unfortunate that we didn't bet a little bigger on the turn. I think we would have been able to get almost any amount on the turn that was, you know, relatively speaking below pot size. So hopefully for the next time we get a little better. Unfortunate that it went out that way. So after what was a pretty fun session, that does wrap it up. I'm very thankful and very grateful to have made the effort to go out there. I made some really great connections inside the poker world. Like I said, Johnny was unbelievably kind to me, and I got to finally meet Wolfgang Poker, who we actually happen to be fans of one another's vlogs. So huge shout out to Wolfgang. In the next video that you guys will be seeing, we actually traveled together down to Vegas. On a whim, just from talking at the table, he invited me to come down to Vegas with him and hang out with none other than Rampage Poker himself. So in the next vlog, if you guys care at all about what we're doing in our lives, you won't want to miss it. We play a huge, I don't want to spoil anything, but we play really big stakes in what ends up being a private 5-5-10 vlogger game at the Wynn Casino in Las Vegas. So pretty great stuff in store for us. Again, if you haven't already, make sure to click the like button, turn on the notification bell for the subscription. If you guys haven't already, comment down below something you liked about the video. And lastly, if you guys are kind enough and want to hang out with the boy and a lot of other really awesome vloggers and content creators, this Friday at 6 p.m., July 16th, we're going to be hosting a game at Lucky Lady Casino here in Los Angeles, California. So until the next time, I love you guys all dearly. God bless you all. Stay safe, stay healthy, and for the most